welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a lovely day today. So today is Wednesday, and you know what that means. It is Wickedly Weird Wednesday, where over here on this channel I read you guys ghost stories from Reddit, or the stories that you guys have sent me. If you do want to send in some ghost stories, you can either send them on Instagram, is the best place, so I'll leave my Instagram on screen for you right now. You can also send them me on Twitter, or you could just leave them in the comments as well if you like, but all of my socials are always linked in the description anyway. But with all that being said, let's jump straight into today's stories. So this first story is called A Story About My Mother. My mother and grandmother have always stood by that this is a 100% true story. My mother is American and moved to Australia in the 1980s, where I was later born. My mother's parents stayed in the US. One night in the late 1980s, my mother was really homesick. She had a dream that she was standing in the bathroom of her childhood home, where her parents were still living. She was brushing her teeth when her mother walked past the bathroom door, stopped and asked, "Mary, what are you doing here?" My mother turned to look at her and then woke up. Still in her bed in Australia, several minutes later, my mother got a phone call from my grandmother. She said that she was calling to see if everything was alright. She said she walked past the bathroom and saw my mother standing there brushing her teeth. When my mother heard her, she turned, looked, and my grandmother was there, and then disappeared. What is that all about? That is like, what? So your mother had moved to America but had a dream that she was in her home back in Australia, and then her grandmother saw her. I'm sorry, that is just so, it's like she teleported. For like, my brain I can't even fathom. Yeah, oh my god. So this is called A Story About My Uncle. We're staying with the family stories right now. This story is about my Uncle David, who had passed away when he was 6 years old, just about to be 7. This timeline takes place around the early 2000s, as it was very sudden and unexpected. Obviously, I was only just a child and didn't comprehend what death was actually about. I was very naive and oblivious to what was happening around me. At this time, my uncle had passed on from cancer. Now, he had not told anyone in our family that he was sick and was not on any medications or chemo when his death was sudden and unexpected during this time. Everyone was very saddened and heartbroken, obviously. Now, fast forward about a month later after his death and burial, I was living with my father at his apartment for the summer. Keep in mind, this apartment also used to belong to my uncle and some of his old roommates, but when my uncle had passed on, my father and I, plus my siblings, moved into the apartment to live in. Mind you, I was very young. I was also born with hearing loss and wore hearing aids 24/7. And didn't understand sudden unexpected death. My child mind had blocked out a lot since his passing, until I got older and could understand better about that time frame. What I do remember was around summertime when my dad had just finished renovating one of the bedrooms to my uncle's apartment to be my own bedroom. They had just completely finished it one day and moved all my stuff in there. I was really excited and happy to have my own bedroom, since me and my siblings were sleeping in one small cramped space for a while in the apartment. The first night I slept in my own room, it was exciting at first, until I had this eerie feeling later on that night. I was having trouble falling asleep and waking up to sounds, feeling like I was being watched for some reason. I got up and turned the light on, and also turned on the big TV in my room. It was just static when I turned it on. I tried to fall asleep, but it still wasn't helping. I tried to think of happy thoughts and soon fell asleep, or so I thought. I had woke up in the middle of the night and heard wailing and crying outside my bedroom door. I don't remember if I had turned off the lights or if my dad did when I was asleep, but I got up in the darkness and went to go to the bedroom door, which was closed and locked. I put my ear against the door and listened closely. All I could make out was wailing and crying or yelling noises from a human voice. I got a bit scared but had some courage and confidence to open the door and peek around. I realised I could only hear the voice but couldn't make out anything out in the living room. It looked too dark to see anything really. I decided to step out of the room completely and see if maybe it was just my brothers arguing or play fighting. As soon as I stepped my foot out of that door, the crying and yelling got louder. It started to sound like my brother's voice, but not completely. I had asked out loud if it was my brothers and if they were okay. It wasn't. I soon realised it was the sound of my uncle's voice. It continued to cry out, "Help me, Louis, help me. I need your help, please." And I knew instantly he was talking about my dad, who has that name. My brother's name is Louis as well, so hence why I thought it was him at first. I panicked because I didn't know what to do or say. I quickly just went back into my room and closed and locked the door. But I could still hear my uncle's voice yelling and crying in pain out for my dad, but it was muffled. It was very tense and traumatic since I had no clue what to do, but I blocked out the sounds with a pillow and forced myself to fall asleep. The next morning, I had woken up and waited for everyone else to get up. As soon as I heard everyone making breakfast, I started asking everyone and my dad about last night. "Did anyone else hear the noises last night?" I asked. Everyone said no and asked me why I asked. "I heard someone, or possibly Uncle David, crying and yelling out for you, Dad. He kept saying your name like he was in pain. At first I thought it was Louis, our brother, but Uncle David was yelling out to you, Dad." And I looked down because my dad had a shocked reaction on his face and everything was a bit confused and silent. My brothers proceeded to say it was just a bad dream or just me making stuff up, but I didn't really care. I just wanted to see how my dad would react, but to be honest, he somewhat reacted the same way as them. It saddened me, but I didn't know what else to do, so I just let it be for the next 16 years. I am now 23 years old today. I will say I did have other experiences or encounters with voices whispering in my ear and calling out my name, which I may post later. The reason why I wanted to share this experience is because I'm still trying to figure out if it was all in my childhood head or if it was real, because I'm being honest, it felt so real and sounded real. His cries and yells sounded so sad and broken, like he was just in pain. I have prayed over my uncle's spirit and hope he has found the light. I just need to know if maybe it was something, then nothing is all. Oh my God, how that must have been so traumatic for you as a kid, like hearing your uncle crying out in pain. That is just like quite deep, to be honest. That is just, yeah, at least your uncle is in a better place now and hopefully not in pain anymore. It's just so sad when people die and it's like so unexpected as well. This next story is called "Is It Normal to Hear Psst, Psst?" Probably not. It's 3:48 a.m. today in my country and I've heard psst twice. I'm not sure if it's my cousin pranking me, but even if he was, I still have an uneasy feeling because I kept hearing psst, psst over and over, like there was no stop. And one time I decided to follow the sound. It was coming from my brother's bed. When I got there, the sound just stopped. Was it an hallucination or something else? I also heard my mum's voice calling me twice, I think, but I would never forget when I heard her voice calling my name at 12 at midnight, and she was out of the house because she was working. P.S. I've also asked my siblings if they heard the psst, psst sound and they said no. Oh my God, I have heard stuff like this where something pretends to be like someone you trust or, you know, something like that, and you should never ever follow them or never open the door or anything. Oh my God, it scares me so much. Just don't interact with them. Do not interact with them is all I have to say. That is so freaky. Oh my God. Okay, I'm going to read 2 more for you guys. This one is called Paid a Visit on Christmas Eve. This paranormal experience is nowhere near as spooky as other posts that I've seen on here, but I want to share it nonetheless. My family and I were visiting relatives in New Jersey for Christmas in 2018, and we stayed at a hotel in the suburbs. We had just finished cooking and baking for our Christmas feast at our relative's place, and we got dropped off at the hotel we were staying at to freshen up before attending Christmas Eve Mass and eating dinner. When we got to the hotel, my mum and I were making our way towards the elevator from the lobby and saw what looked like an elderly Caucasian man, but very tall in stature, wearing a coat and a grey tweed golf cap, walked past us and entered one of the elevators. I didn't get a glimpse of what his face looked like though. Once I stepped foot into the elevator, I was shocked to see that he wasn't inside. I instantly got goosebumps all over, and I asked my mum to confirm if she had seen the man as well, which she did. My brother and dad followed us into the elevator but claimed they didn't notice the man. Once the elevator got to the floor, I bolted to my room as fast as I could. There was a large portrait on the wall, not too far from where the elevators were, of an elderly man, presumably the owner of the hotel. My mother suggested that it could have been his spirit visiting the hotel on Christmas Eve. I could have sworn we saw a physical person walk into the elevator that night, but I didn't feel like the spirit had an evil aura or anything like that. Oh my god, that is crazy. I don't think I've ever heard of like someone seeing something walk in somewhere. Do you know where like there's no exit, there's one way in and one way out? What would you do if you physically saw something walk in there and then you get in there yourself and there's nothing there? Oh my god, that is so spooky. I feel like that's actually a really spooky story. Obviously, I'm glad that it didn't feel like he was harmful in any way. Maybe it was just the owner of the hotel, just making sure everything was going good on Christmas Eve. Okay, so the final story is called Ghost of a Man Who Vanished. Now, you may tell me this could have been my imagination, but it looked so real. Basically, when I was a kid, I took 2 weeks off school. Basically, I just didn't turn up for 2 weeks and made out I had a cold. We've all been there. I just wanted to stay at my sister's place. The first night there, I was terrified to go to sleep. I must be around 9 or 10 years old at the time, and my sister and I watched a film. My sister had a Chucky doll from Child's Play sitting on her window. I was terrified of Chucky, as when I was 5, my sister made me watch it, and because she thought it was funny to scare me, and I was still scared of him at 9 or 10 years of age. I tried to ignore the doll and fall asleep on the sofa, which was where I was sleeping due to there being no more beds. I did manage to fall asleep, but then about 2 to 3 hours later, I woke up. It must have been around 2 or 4 a.m. and it was pitch black. I had an eerie feeling come over me and made me more scared than I was before. I looked around the living room, and when I turned towards the living room door, which was closed, there was a man standing there looking at me like he was confused why I was there. Oh my god. At the time, I assumed he was a caveman due to my lack of knowledge of history, but now I can imagine him being medieval with the fashion looking from that time period. As soon as I locked eyes with him, I shouted my sister's name from the top of my lungs, to which woke my sister up. She replied, "What's going on?" And soon she opened the door to the living room. The man literally vanished in front of my eyes. And my sister ran in and asked what's wrong. I told her about the caveman standing there. My sister turned the lights on and turned to the area I pointed at. Where? I don't see anyone. He was definitely there. My sister said if anyone was here, the dogs would have been barking, but they were fast asleep. True. The dogs would have went mental at any trespassers, but the man looked so real. To this day, I still think about this experience and how much it freaked me out. First time I ever saw a ghost, and it definitely wasn't my imagination. Why would he just stand there and stare at you? For what reason? Why? And why would he have looked confused that you were there? Like, I wonder if maybe, this is so freaky, but he, like, watched your sister in the house. Maybe he was watching over your sister in the house. I don't know. But either way, freaky and not something that I'd ever want to experience. Can you imagine? I just couldn't imagine being asleep and then waking up and something being there. I don't know what's more scary, waking up and someone actually being there, because at least then you can fight back, but then looking up and it just literally being someone's there and then they're not. Why? Anyway, I'm going to leave it on that one because I'm definitely spooked out enough. Hopefully you're not too spooked out. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed these scary stories. If you have any stories, like I said earlier, I'll leave my Instagram on the screen for you now because that is the best place to reach me because I check it way more often. But as always, I have all my socials linked in the description. So my Twitter, my Instagram, and TikTok, I believe, is also down there. All my socials. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss when I post new videos every Wednesday. But also when I post other videos just in general every Monday, every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.